Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. So today's video is going to be a story time on the time I told my parents I wanted to get married young, what their reaction was, were they happy about it, were they not. You'll find out everything in this video, so keep watching. And I'm also going to be including some advice and tips on how to break it to your parents, whether you want to get married young or older. Doesn't matter, these tips will apply to both, don't worry about that. And I also get so many messages on the daily about young ladies, gents wanting to get married young and asking me for advice, so that will all be included in this video. Also a disclaimer, massive disclaimer for the people that don't agree with getting married young. This video isn't here to tell you to get married young. It's just for the people that are considering getting married young and they're not sure how to go about to breaking it to their parents. So this is me sharing my story. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys learn something from it. So let's get started. Okay, so let's take it way back to high school. I was in year 11. I was 16. I was going to finish high school that year, and that's when I broke it to them and said I wanted to get married. And guess what? They gave me their big fat no. As most parents would, because of course you're a teenager, you're in high school. Like, what do you know about getting married? Like, what is that? Like, that shouldn't even be crossing your mind. So I should probably tell you guys how I told them, right? Yeah. Actually, no, I should take it back to how I told them, not what they said to me when I told them. So I first told my mom, because obviously I feel like it's just easier, it's natural to be able to confide in your mom more than your dad, because dads tend to be a bit stricter. And with me anyway, I feel like my dad was more strict than my mom, so I was able to tell her before I was able to tell him. So when I told her, she was like, what? Why? No, never. I'm joking. No, she wasn't very impressed, obviously. The first thing she wanted to know was who it was. And I told her who it was. She knew of him, of his family. So she did speak to my dad, and when that happened, his dad spoke to my dad. They had conversations. I have no idea what happened in these conversations, but I'm going to tell you what they told me. So they told me that it's a big fat no, like I said at the beginning, and that's purely because obviously I hadn't finished education. It's to be expected. I mean, I expected it. I purposely told them before I actually wanted to get married. I mean, I didn't want to get married at 16. Like, he didn't have a job, I didn't have a job. What were we going to live off? So I was very tactful. I made sure to drop the bomb earlier than I actually wanted to get married, so they got used to the idea, so that they knew that they can't say no forever. They can say no, etc., but not forever. So after that had happened, I was very persistent. Believe you me, I'm a very persistent gal. I kept going on and on at my parents, and one day we sat down, we had a talk, and they said to me that you can get married if you want to, however there are conditions and you must meet them. It sounds like a business proposal, but no, it wasn't. It's just because I was so persistent that they had to give me an answer. They had to give his family an answer. And they said to me that obviously you're in high school at the moment, and we want you to finish your education before you get married. Forget getting married in high school or college, you need to finish your education. So I was like, okay, this is my chance to bargain. So me being me, I was like, fair enough, that's fine. I will finish high school, I will finish college, and then can we get married? They were like, that's fine, absolutely fine. So I finished high school. We met their family, like they got together, they came over, they asked for me traditionally, and then they went off because my husband was actually in university when he came to ask for me, and I was about to start college, and college is 2 years, university is 3 years. So the conditions went on his behalf because he had finished high school and college. He was on my behalf. Let us fast forward a year later, when I was almost finished my first year in college. I was 17, and bear in mind, this entire year the parents were in conversations back and forth as to what's best, for both of us, and they had agreed that it's best to not delay it further. and you know, anything can happen, etc, etc. So they came into agreements that we can get married after I finish my first year of college. However, the condition was that I finish both years of college before I moved to London. So I wasn't allowed to just neglect my college or move my college to London. I had to finish my 2 years. I obviously happily agreed, and my husband came down, we got married, spent the summer together, and then he went off to London, I stayed in Manchester, and we lived apart for a whole year. So this whole year I was finishing my second year of college. What seemed like the worst year ever, it was actually a blessing in disguise, because let's face it, if I did just pack up and move midway through my college year, what would have happened? I probably wouldn't have focused, I probably wouldn't have finished, he was probably not gonna finish, and there was a lot of stuff happening with his family at that time. You know, he had to focus on his studies, which is what he did. He finished, I finished. In that year that we lived apart, he did come over very, very, very often, maybe every other weekend, and it was so nice. That year was very bittersweet. Like, yeah, it had its pros, but it also had its cons. You know, being married and having a long distance marriage. Not even a long distance relationship, it was a long distance marriage. It was very hard. It was nice to just be halal relationship, you know, not having to explain anything to anybody, and go on holidays, go on little getaways. Not that we could do that because obviously we had studies to do, but yeah, it was tough. It was a tough year, and I could probably touch on that if you want me to speak more about long distance a marriage. But time went by so quickly, and then after I finished my college, moved to London, and a year later we moved to Manchester, and then we had Malik. But that is the gist of it. Yeah, I don't know what else to say really. It wasn't that difficult. The only difficult part was convincing our parents that you know, to let me get married young. That was the tough bit, because it was a lot of no's, yes, maybes, I don't know, parents having to think about it, my parents anyway, which I understand, because obviously you are their young daughter. They have to make sure that the guy that you are wanting to marry, spend the rest of your life, is a good person, that the family are good. They have to figure these things out. They can't just say yes automatically. So it took them a year to say yes to me, to get married. It was very hard, because you're trying to do the right thing. You want to go about having a relationship in the right way, but then your parents are saying no. But then, you know, they have their reasons, which is 100% understandable. There's no way that I myself wouldn't be the same way that my parents were with my own daughter, you know. But after a whole year of getting told no, it took a whole year for them to say yeah. So that's the gist of it, like I said. And now I'm probably going to move on to my tips and how I convinced my parents, and what I would recommend to you, young ladies or gents that wanted to get married young, how to break it to your parents, my personal tips. Hopefully it'll help you guys out. When you first tell your parents that you want to get married, there are two types of reactions that you might get. One, if you tell them that you want to get married and that you have somebody in mind and that you are going to bring somebody to them, you might get a negative reaction, purely because some parents are very traditional, very strict, can I say. That's a no-go in some families. At the same time, some parents expect you to have somebody in mind if you say you want to get married, and they expect you to bring somebody to them, and that's just the normality in their family dynamics. So in mine, it was a bit of both, yeah? So they didn't mind. It wasn't something that if I brought somebody, it was going to be like, oh my god, how dare you, because we didn't have that type of household. So if your parents are kind of strict, just bear in mind that they might not have the most positive reaction to your news. Just bear in mind that it might go south, and they might be very angry or upset with you for even talking to somebody behind their back and not telling them. Expect the unexpected. That's why I say if your parents are quite strict. If they're not, then it should be quite fairly easy for you to break it to them. I would just say, if your parents are quite strict, to ease them into it. Maybe start by planting the idea in their head that you might want to get married. Just throw it in there, throw it out in the air. Say, you know what, I'm thinking I want to get married sometime soon, maybe this year. What do you guys think? And depending on what your parents are like, they might pop off. Maybe a few weeks later you want to bring up the topic again. and be like, remember how I said I want to get married sometime soon? About that, I do have somebody in mind, but I want you guys to meet him, to get to know him, see what you think of him, and then if you're happy with it, I can get to know him and we can speak about getting married. You know, with parents, you just have to be tactful. You have to understand that they don't want to ruin your life. At the end of the day, they're your parents and it's their job to protect you. They've brought you into this world. They want the best person for you. They don't want to just hand you over to just anybody. Honestly, just remember and put yourself in your parents' shoes. If you're a parent, what would you do in their shoes? Would you just hand over your son or your daughter to a complete stranger that you don't know? They need to get to know the person, they need to get to know their families, you know, to figure out whether they're good people or not, whether they're worthy of their daughter or their son. And when it comes to such a big decision, you know, marriage is a huge decision. At the end of the day, it changes your life completely. You are going to be joining another family, you're going to be living with somebody else for the rest of your life. You want to make sure, and your parents want to make sure, that it is with a good person. So just bear that in mind. And you know, when you tell your parents, oh, I want to get married to somebody, do you just expect them to be like, yay, woohoo? Of course they're going to have reservations. Just bear that in mind. And me speaking from a parent's perspective, I totally get it. So just try to put yourself in their shoes and try to just do everything calmly. Just expect the unexpected, that's what I'd say. Although it may seem like they want to ruin your life, they don't want you to be happy, that isn't true. Honestly, your parents want the best for you. So whatever they say, whatever reasons they may have, try to understand where they're coming from and try to understand why they're saying what they're saying. In my case, I totally get it. You know, I was very young, but like I said, I just wanted to plant the idea into their head, and I knew that within a couple of months, a year, they would calm down, they'd be able to think about it rationally, they'd be able to, you know, understand that I want the best for my daughter. I don't want her to get into any messed up situation. As she came to me, she was honest with me, she said she wants to do this. So, you know, they think about it, they calm down after a bit, and they're able to see everything clearly and appreciate the fact that you came to them. So be honest, be open, be mindful of their feelings, and try to, you know, plant seeds. Try not to just full-blown go in and expect that yes, because you're not going to get that yes straight away. It is going to take some getting used to, that is for sure. That is it, guys. That is my little tips, my little advice to you guys that are maybe in a similar situation. If you do have any further questions, because I didn't ask you guys on Instagram to ask me any questions, so if you have any questions, leave them down below if you want me to do a Q&A following on to this. But if you do have any other questions, the best thing to do is to comment down below this video and not DM me, because honestly guys, I get so many DMs. What happens after you get hundreds and hundreds? It goes right to the bottom and eventually it gets deleted. So the best thing to do is to just comment down below, and I'll be able to answer you guys, or I'll be able to do a separate video and come back to this video and read the comments and answer the questions. Does that make sense? But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I have been asked so many times to film this video, so hopefully it's been beneficial. Hopefully you learned something and you understand my story a bit more, you know. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video at all, please subscribe. It is 100% free, and make sure you turn on the bell notification, because if you don't do that, YouTube won't be letting you guys know when I upload, and I upload twice a week. Subscribe, like this video, and comment down what you thought of this video, and that's it. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye bye.